We are live, coming here with a brand new Stir the Pod podcast show. I'm your host, Trevor. Tonight we are joined by Andy. Andy, how you doing tonight?
What up, what up?
And we are here with the episode, what is this? Are we even counting this as episode 20? What are we calling this?
I think we have to, just because, it just goes to show that MTV is milking as much as they physically can. So I think we got to consider it episode 20.
So episode 20, part 1 recap show. Honestly, this is just fucking ridiculous at this point. First off, 2 90-minute episodes for all the shit. This is just out of control.
It is out of control.
I cannot believe MTV is milking it this long. We're tired of the season already, and it's the gift that keeps on giving. It sucks. We got some people in the chat already. Jesse Adams, Ryan McCord, the real AWLs out there tonight. This episode, I don't know how long it's going to be. Me and Andy were kind of talking, and we were just kind of like, we kind of miss our AWLs, and we kind of just want to go out and just have a fun podcast, see what they want to talk about from the reunion show. We don't really want to dive so deep into the actual season, but stuff that you guys want to hear, we're just going to be kind of just watching the chat the entire time. Jesse Adams writes, I thought you were going to do a show after both parts of the reunions. So I think tonight we're just going to talk about the reunion. Next week, we're just going to completely talk about the entire season, literally everything, kind of whatever you guys want to discuss. I think we got our first caller tonight. Back from the Redemption House. This can't be right. Wow, Alex, back at it again. Welcome. New setup.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me on. And I wanna, if we're doing like a little listener question, the question I have to you guys, and maybe some of the chat tonight is, are we just assuming Ashley is now like a special guest at these reunions or something? Like, she wasn't on this season, right? But I saw her tonight.
I think she's like a semi-host, semi-host, but I don't know. Mikey the Doctor writes, I couldn't stop thinking how much better of a tight end Fezzi is compared to Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis, he was a pretty solid tight end, but when you're a tight end at the University of Tennessee, you're just regarded as like one of the best, SEC program, SEC East. I know in the past few years, but definitely when he was there at the time, University of Tennessee was just a powerhouse. Early, what would it be, like 2015, 16? They were probably about a 8-4 team, pretty close, probably not winning the SEC East, but getting there. So, I'm surprised no comparison came up tonight. I was a little disappointed by that, but Chattanooga. But anything else? What should we even dive into, Alex, Andy?
Well, yeah, I think we're going to try to keep this recap somewhat shorter than our other, typical episode recaps, just because if MTV is going to pump out a bullshit 2-part reunion for a bunch of people that we don't really care about, we're just going to keep it short and sweet, to the point.
Yep.
And next week, we're going to get down to business.
Yep. Thanks, Casey, for repeating the rules. So then we got.
What were your guys' favorite parts of the night? Because one of my favorite parts was, I think they all did a fairly good job of shitting on Fessy. And I know we talked about that in our season or our finale recap. But the whole cast kind of shit on him, and so did Vernon. I think Fessy got what he had coming to him, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they did a pretty good job with all that. They kind of teased us, tickled the ball sack a little at the end. And that was kind of what I was looking forward to. This whole thing was the whole, Nelson and Fezzi relationship. They kind of hyped that up as the most, the biggest thing. And obviously we got the classic cliffhanger and we didn't actually see it, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Hopefully next week we get some of that. My question to you would be, do you think they're going to be boys on the next season of the challenge? I feel like that always happens. I'm picturing the Shane versus Corey versus Nelson thing. And then, next season, they're just best friends. You look at Jordan versus Bananas and free agents. Next season, they're just best friends out of nowhere. I feel like it's just a common theme. So do you think they'll just be best friends next season?
Fessy and Nelson?
Correct.
I would say no.
No.
Because I think a lot of times in scenarios like that, there's some sort of level of respect between the bridge that was burned. I don't think there was any sort of respect here between Nelly and Fezzi.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Bananas kind of realized that Jordan is like a legit competitor, like can like back up a lot of the shit that he talks. And Jordan talks a lot of shit. And like the whole Nelson, Shane, Corey thing was just bananas in and of itself. But I do think that, I mean, Fezzi just totally screwed over Nelly T. And I don't think he'll let that slide.
And well, weren't Bananas and Jordan weren't like one of those seasons when they were going at each other. The very next season, they were like best friends, right?
You're just fucking with me, right?
That happened, I think.
All right. I mean, if we're just replaying the rules exactly what I fucking say the entire night, this can be a quick night. Ryan McCord writes, "Gotta love having Devin commentating back and forth, providing commentary." I think Devin, excellent for this. I think realistically, when he ever gives up becoming a competitor of the show, he would be a nice host to have. Kind of like making jabs, stirring the pot a little. God, watch it. What else we got? Nelson was off. Go ahead.
About Devin, one thing that kind of came to mind tonight is, and I know we've talked throughout the season about how we kind of have liked Devin this season, because I think in general we're not the biggest Devin fans, but he's had like a good showing. I think what it is for me at least, and I kind of realized this tonight when he was going at Fezzi, is I think what it comes down to is he was always going at Bananas, and like he was always going at Bananas in the same exact ways, like the same exact remarks that he's doing now with Fezzi. But it's like I think we're all pretty big. Like we like Bananas. He's a good guy, awesome character for the show and all that. And so I think that's what kind of turned me off to him initially. It was like, yeah, this is what he's doing. This is his little shtick, but it's against a guy that we like. Whereas now he's doing all the same shit, saying all the same insults to this guy that's so easy to hate in Fezzi.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Finn writing, "Can we talk about the end? Fezzi still having the nerve to call CT washed up after he won the season. That just makes no sense by Fezzi. I just don't get the move at all. I mean, let's be real. He finished fourth and CT won. Andy, do you have anything to say about that except like he's just a pussy. Like nobody likes him.
He's just out of touch with like reality. Like he thinks he's still this God's gift to the show, and like those people like, and they showed his faces every single time anyone would talk. It was like, dude, you can't like talk until you win a challenge. You can't talk on the level that he does. And like CT kind of gave him some credit, which kind of pissed me off. He was like, Fezzi's been on 2 shows and he's been on 2 finals. So, like, Mike made the final his first season when him and Leroy were together. Leroy made his first final. Leroy doesn't talk shit. And he has every right to, even though he hasn't won, because he's been doing it for so damn long. Like, you can either talk shit in one of 2 ways in my book if you've won or if you've been on for a while and you've been, like, consistently a competitor. Fezzi is neither. So...
God. Alex, anything to touch on that or no?
No, I completely agree. Fezzi and Anissa might be the 2, just off the top of my head, least self-aware people on the show who just think their vision of what they are is complete opposite of what they actually are. And I think like for like not to tie it back to Devin again, but that was one of the things that I liked about Devin this season too, was that like he admitted a few times that like he's not the best, like he's not the most intimidating challenger or anything. Like hearing someone say that, it's like, okay, he knows it. Like he knows what his strengths are. He knows what his weaknesses are. Whereas Fezzi thinks he's God's gift. He's done 2 seasons. And I also don't think, going back to the whole 2 finals thing, I don't think it's a coincidence that he's 2 for 2 making finals in the only 2 seasons we've ever had where it's skulls and you need stuff to win. Like that's changed the format a lot. And all he needs to do is beat, little nub Jordan in a pole wrestle, and then whatever he did, beating Nelly T. Like, I don't know. Fezzi sucks.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit on it. I mean, we all hate him. If this game was in a different format, I'm just trying to think. Like the old formats, do you think he would be thrown in every single week for guys?
I don't know if he'd be thrown in. I think he'd be thrown in more, and I also think he'd be like blindsided.
Yeah.
Because in like these current challenges, you can't really blindside anybody, and I feel like that's where Fezzi might have lost one of these. Is if like he wasn't prepared for it. He had different people like working that he thought was working with him, like go against him. That's where I think Fezzi could lose one of these. And that also, like he said, I think on tonight's show, he's like, "Oh, I'm 3-0 in eliminations."
You play Jordan in a pole wrestle. You win against your best friend in a hall brawl, and you win against Kyle, who Big T could compete against in a hall brawl. So like, it's not saying much.
Yeah, and the guy is gonna like if he keeps doing these shows, he's gonna lose an elimination at some point. I mean, CT, Bananas, they all have plenty of elimination losses. I can't wait for that to happen.
Well,
I can't wait for him to lose an elimination.
But you know what's going to happen? It's just going to be classic because it's going to be kind of like the final. It's going to be kind of like the final. It's going to be like he'll go into an elimination with the partner. They'll lose, and he'll be like, "Oh, it was all Casey's fault. She performed horribly tonight. You know, if it was just me, you know, I'd be 4-0." It'd be something like that. You know, we're not going to see that opportunity, and it's going to be some bullshit like that. What else we got in the chat?
I don't know about you guys, but I kind of got tired of everything being Fezzi driven about halfway through this episode. I loved how they came out guns hot, talking shit, but the fact that it just kept being like revolving around Fezzi, I was like, look, I don't care about this kid. He stinks. Like he sucks. Like they talked about Leroy and Cam for like 2 minutes. Like Gabby said 2 words. Nam said his classic 2 words, which matched the same word count that he said on the challenge.
He said 13 words. The over-under was 10.5. So.
Thanks, Nam.
Yeah.
Talk about CT's legacy, for God's sake.
Exactly. Like, there's so many different things they could have talked about, and everything was just revolved around Fezzi. And when it was at first, like, just shitting on him, I was loving it. And then it just got to the point where it was like, come on. Like, even if you're, like, talking shit about this guy, all it does is just boost his ego.
Exactly. And that's why I'm worried for the state of the challenge sake. They're kind of like pushing him out to be the face of the challenge now. And that's what's scary. And you know who else they pushed out quite a bit, and I don't know if you noticed this, was Anissa from the other side. I felt like they showed a lot of her. Like she could have just made like a remark like, "Oh, absolutely." Like literally just that. And they showed that clip for whatever reason. It was just like a filler gap. Meanwhile, you have fucking Gabby just sitting up on the screen when they're talking about Tori, just like this. Like it was she wasn't even saying anything.
Well, let's not overlook the fact that Gabby looked bad.
Yeah, I mean, Andy, you say that, but funny, who said it earlier? I got to look. Ryan McCord beat you to the punch. Gabby being bad.
Classic.
Not surprise. What Jesse Adams writes for you, Andy, would you say Dunbar can talk shit if he was still on the show?
I think Dunbar has more to talk shit about than Fezzi.
More rings.
This is second fucking season. And he's talking as if he's been on for a decade. Or he's got 3 rings, and he has neither.
Absolutely.
And guess what? Dunbar doesn't talk well, I mean, but Dunbar's also kind of out of it too. Like, he's one of those guys that also just doesn't get it. I mean, there's just some – yeah, and Mikey the Docker just writes, Gabby is dating half a man. That is such a classic Fezzi move, just like his initial gut reaction, she's dating half a man. And then he was like, oh, no, I didn't say it.
Check the fucking tape from 30 seconds ago.
He's like,
called him out.
Well, he's short. Okay? That's all you got? You're going to call him half a man because he's shorter than you and he's not 6'3"? Like, he stinks. He stinks.
What else did we see? Boogie Brown, always a pleasure to have you in the chat tonight. I feel bad for Jordan.
Ryan McCord just pointed out, I know we're talking kind of about storylines and like how they used tonight's 90 minutes. We heard nothing from Amber B. We heard more from the other Amber.
Unbelievable.
We did. And she looked bad.
on.
We had a rookie come on, win 2 eliminations, win a final, and they didn't ask her anything.
Mm-mm.
The only thing that they asked her about was when Fezzi wanted to get rid of her.
Yes. It's just mind-boggling sometimes. The shit they make is just so bad.
So I got a question for you guys. Now that I'm thinking about everything that they've talked about tonight on the show and what they kind of missed and all that. My question is, and I would love for the chat to chime in here, is 7 days from now, what the fuck are they going to talk about? Like, what else? What left is there to recap on the reunion?
Fezzi against Nelly. It's you got to think Fezzi and who else haven't they talked about? Fezzi and Nelly, maybe Fezzi and TJ.
I feel like there might be a couple of the goof headlines still hanging out there. We didn't hear much from him.
Yeah, Chris hits the name. I said that earlier. I'm shocked Fezzi didn't tell Vernon Davis he's a better tight end than him. Absolutely. I cannot believe that. What else we got in the chat?
What if we go this route, because it kind of tackles off what Alex had just said. What do we want them to talk about? Not necessarily what we think is still out there. What would we like to see discussed in the next 90 minutes that we still have to?
I would like them to fuck up and cut 30 minutes of the next one and give us 30 minutes of All-Stars or something for the tail end. All I need is actually just give us the whole episode, and then what? We would have 30 minutes left of the reunion. Just give us that.
Or 30 minutes more of ridiculousness. They never show that show.
Honestly, what I would want from the reunion, and I know we kind of talked about like how they didn't talk about CT winning his 4th ring tonight. What I would love for Vernon to just straight up ask CT is like, how much longer can you do this? And I'm sure he'll have like some sort of canned answer, like, oh, I'm just getting started and all that. But like the dude is a challenge legend that we spent a lot of time in our finale recap talking about him. So like, I would just love to, like, for a straight up question of like, how many more seasons do you actually think you have in you, and just hear what CT's answer is. That's what I'd be interested in.
I also love that. And I also want the same thing to be asked towards Leroy and say, hey, are you actually done? Like, have you had any second thoughts, anything that's wanting to pull you back to the show? Like, get his perspective too. Both those guys, I would love to hear their perspectives on what's next.
Yeah, Trev, what would you want to see?
I don't know. I don't know if I want to watch 90 more minutes of this shit. Like, I feel like now it's to the point, like, you're in a group chat with friends and it's the same shit every single day. I feel like that's where we're at, Finn writes, legit based on how CT this episode, I think he could make it to 50 years old. And that's the thing. I look at CT and I mean, obviously the weakest part of his game is his political game, but when he's matched up with a good partner, you're fine. But even still, I mean, this season, CT had no problems at all. Like, it was kind of, I don't want to say a cakewalk for him, but it was pretty damn easy. Andy?
Well, and he was with Big T for the majority of it. Like, it's not like he had Cam or Casey in his back pocket the whole time. He was with Big T, and he made it look easy.
But did that help him, you think, throughout the – and we'll get into it in the actual –
I don't know how to do it. I mean, just –
well, I'm thinking if he had like Cam or someone, he might have had a bigger target on his back. But
don't forget, the first episode, 2 episodes, he had a huge target.
Absolutely. I get it. Who was his partner first episode?
Ashley.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They were the big champ team.
God. Well, yeah, that's why he's the big target.
You know who I would love to hear more from on part 2?
Teresa?
Maybe it's little hard. Maybe I would love to hear more from Kyle. And I know it's kind of hard because they have half of these guys on, FaceTime and all that.
Well, yeah, they're so fucking stupid. They paid for they didn't spend the extra money on Zoom Premium, so they couldn't get 6 people on Skype at one time. I mean,
Big T.
Did you guys have more people? We could literally get more people in this fucking stream right now than they just had on their show. I mean, come on, how fucking cheap are they?
In Boogie's last comment here about CT's doing the show just to stay away from his wife. How about very early on in the reunion when Vernon was pressing CT on his
On
face.
Larry.
It was hilarious almost. I felt bad for him.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
I'm trying to think of what else.
And
I really
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and I know we just talked about this a little bit, but like rewatching Fezzi get in CT's face and CT saying, "I'm still here," like I'm still here, and watching that now after CT won it is just such a like slap in the face to Fezzi of, yeah, you can talk all this shit, but CT backed himself up, won a challenge, and you're not the top dog. You can think you are as much as you want, but you're not.
Yep.
You're not.
Jesse Adams writes, Andy wants Lolo on next year. Don't let him fool you.
God. Zero tolerance for quitters. Don't take it easy. Hope to see you never.
Wait, she quit the season?
Yo, she was training for the Olympics. I don't know if you know, but she's an Olympian. She's an athlete. She's worked on teams before.
God.
I think we mentioned it once already, the total number of words, but I just was full smirk when they showed Nam.
He didn't say a word.
They said Vernon was literally like, "Oh, we got some new agents joining us tonight. Like, say hello to Nam." And it's just him like waving, and then they went back to him one other time later, and I don't even remember. It was about like Lolo quitting, and he was like, he just said,
"She quit. She quit on me. I had to get through a week, and then it was all good. And then my back hurt, and then it was all. It was just like, what the fuck?" What else we got in the chat? Have you all seen the cast of next season? Tragic. I have not. I think Alex has.
I think we did. We discussed it. I think after we stopped recording last week. I don't remember it a lot of it off the top of my head. I think why most people haven't been a fan of it, just on paper, is I think there's a lot of rookies and a lot of people from like.
You underwater? What just happened to your sound?
Huh? You hear me?
Yeah, there you go. Now you're good. You were kind of underwater there for a second.
I moved in with Big T. But there's like, I think season 37 has a lot of rookies from like stupid reality TV shows, like YouTubers, stuff like that.
It seems like they're kind of going for like a fresher look, some new competitors. I don't know. That's just the way it kind of looks like.
Shit. And obviously we'll do a solid 1-by-1 of the cast and everything, but just hearing that just pisses me off.
Chris writes, need more Corey too. He was actually funny this season. Yeah, I liked Corey. I think we all kind of talked about how he was kind of a douche, and like he kind of turned out to be kind of like I think he said he does it for his kids. I don't know. I didn't think he had any kids, so I was kind of surprised by the statement.
Corey has kids?
I don't know. I thought he said that. I could be thinking Nelson or Darrell or somebody. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know if Corey has kids, but I am pretty sure that this was Leroy's last season. I think.
I believe you're right, sir. What else we got in the chat?
Well, no, Trev, real quick on Corey, because you're spot on. I mean, if you rewind about 2 years, I think the next wave of at least male competitors consisted of Corey, Nelly, and Devin, in terms of they were going to be like the next guys to be like the faces of the show. And I was so pissed about it because I didn't like any of them 2-3 years ago. Fast forward to now, I love all of them. All three of those guys are some of my favorites now. But it's almost like we're getting another wave on top of that, being of like all the Big Brother people, Fezzi, the Goof, all these just bozos who I do not feel comfortable with them taking the reins of the show.
Fun fact, CT, Johnny, and Jordan have won 7 out of the last 10 seasons. LOL. 2 40-year-olds and a one-hand man. I mean, that's pretty good. What was the thing I know, Alex, you sent something to us. It's like out of the last 15 seasons.
I just pulled it up because I saw Boogie's comment. It made me think of it in a very similar vein. So you can look at it a few ways, and I'll get into that. But if you look at past seasons, there's obviously a lot of repeating faces. And the stats that I have are, if you look at CT, Jordan, Bananas, and then from the girls' side, you just look at Cara and Ashley. So 5 challengers. In the past 16 seasons, one of those 5 people, if not multiple, have won 14 of those seasons. Jeez. So 14 of 16 have been won by those 5 people. And then if you also look at in the past 16 seasons, there's been 38 first place spots available to win. And of those 38, 16 of them have been that 5. So, like, of the past 38 first place finishes, 16 are those 5 challengers combined, and then 22 the rest of the challenge world. So it's like 5 people are just alternating titles.
Wow. Sheesh. Jesse Adams writes, would you guys want to see Joss or Rogan in a Hallbra versus Fezzi? I think I would rather see Rogan against him, but I'm not a huge fan of either. Any statement to that?
I agree, but I kind of like Rogan. I like Rogan when he's on his own. I don't like Rogan when Joss is there because I do think Rogan.
Drogan? What was it?
Jogan.
Yeah,
I think given the opportunity, I think Rogan would hook up with Joss in a heartbeat. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But Rogan is very different when Joss is in the house, and I like Rogan on his own. And I think Rogan could give Fezzi a run for his money. And Fezzi having the audacity to say that when they showed his little Instagram live, he could beat like anyone, and he was the most competitive or like the most physical. CT in his prime is taking anyone out. Abe, when he's seeing red is like, I don't know if Fezzi just didn't watch the show. He was probably watching Big Brother and like all these other random ass shows because he just clearly doesn't know what the challenge is all about. But like for him to think that he was beating CT 10 years ago, he's crazy. For him to think that he's beating Abe is crazy. Like there were a lot of heavy hitters back in the day. And he was saying in that clip when him and CT were going at it that like, oh, the competition's different now. Buddy, you're talking to the most feared guy in the entire show. Like, what do you mean that's like you're an idiot if you're saying, oh, the competition's different. It's like, no, you're just talking to a guy who's 40 now who literally would go around wanting to smash people's heads in and eat it. And Darrell beating the shit out of Brad. Like, what do you mean the competition's different? It's softer now. Fezzi's an introvert. Like, come on.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple more minutes, guys, and then we're going to wrap this up. Finn writes, at this point, I want to see a final of CT versus Johnny versus Jordan. Honestly, I think that'd be a fun finale to watch. I think for me personally, I would love to see Johnny win. I mean, I love Johnny Riley. I think he's a very good competitor. And I mean, people forget he beat Bananas up the mountain. So out of those 3, I'm picking Johnny Riley. What about you guys?
I mean, I don't know how on par that is with what they were going for there. One thing that came to mind is you think about CT's sort of second wind of his career where he's just piling up rings. It almost makes it even more surprising that he didn't win the Dirty 30 finale when he was on there with Derek and Jordan, and he actually got 3rd place out of them. And like, I guess at the time when he gets 3rd place, you kind of think like, oh, like he's, a bigger guy, like he's dad bod CT and all that. And so it wasn't surprising then, but it's like he won, I guess, Invasion right before that. And then he ended up winning World of Worlds 2 right after, and now this one. Now obviously Jordan's a beast and he ended up winning that, but just kind of surprising that CT ended up making the final and finishing 3rd there.
Mm-hmm. Andy, anything on that, or who would you pick out of those 3 real quick?
Johnny, Jordan, and who?
CT.
I mean, who would I want to see or who I think would win?
Who do you think would win out of those 3 in a final?
I mean, I think you got to go with Bananas.
Who? You mean Riley?
God. No, I that would be a very good final to watch, but I think Jordan's getting 3rd. And
Really?
I think so. I don't know. That would be a really, really good final.
Well,
I hate having to pick one because I feel like I'm discrediting the other two, and I don't want to do that.
Rivals 2.
Well, Johnny Riley wasn't in Rivals 2.
And not fucking Riley.
Oh,
There's no loser if that's the final.
yeah.
It's just who's got the better day, and if Bananas is on Adderall or not.
Well, he's not. But with that being said, let's just hop right in. I know you guys have a ton of questions. We'll save them for next week during our season recap. It's time for our MVP, LVP of tonight's episode. I feel like we can go a lot of ways with this. So I guess we'll just kind of wait for the first order, I guess, the classic. I'm guessing our first thing will go Alex, Trev, Andy. That's my guess.
Don't try to.
Well, no, they're already typing. They know. They're on it. So
Jesse Adams is usually pretty early with that.
Wow, we got
flip them.
But
God, Adam Mito's in the chat now. Love to see that. So we'll go with that first order: Alex, Andy, Trev. With that being said, the floor is yours.
So, and we're just doing MVP and LVP of tonight, right? The first
correct. Reunion only, part 1 of the reunion show.
My MVP for part 1 of the reunion is going to be female wardrobes.
Ooh, great pick.
I'm going female wardrobes. I thought about bringing it up earlier, but I wanted to save it for this. And there's kind of 3 people that I have in mind, 2 main things though. Ashley's outfit was just insane. Almost see-through entirely. I think she had like wings that she was flapping at one point. But mainly why I'm going with female wardrobes for MVP is Amber M and Tori's outfits held up somehow through the whole reunion. I don't know. Obviously, if there was some sort of malfunction, they wouldn't have shown it. But I mean, those things were carrying all the weight possible that they could. So literally, like it's not just an MVP in the sense that like they looked good and all that. It was those wardrobes were actually holding up. So I'm going MVP, and there's a few other ones, but I'm going MVP female wardrobes.
Great pick. That was one of the best picks you've done this entire season. Andy, what do you got for us?
My MVP for part 1 of the recap or the reunion is going to be Leroy.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Leroy, like he talked a decent amount. He wasn't overbearing, but they did the classic him and Cam, and everything was great. He was throwing in some commentary here and there as well, which was just spot on at all times. So he was still a funny guy, wasn't like overbearing, and I really hate to think about this being the last ever reunion to see Leroy on, but if that is the case, I would love to give him the MVP on his last one. So,
wow, great pick. My MVP tonight, and I don't know if this counts as a duplicate of what Andy kind of said, but not really. My MVP tonight is the entire cast except Fezzi. Because I think the entire chat or the entire group did a really good job of shitting on him in tonight's episode. I feel like that was a majority of the episode. I think they all kind of got their jabs in there. And it was just fucking awesome to see. And why I like it the most too is everybody knows how he plays the game now. The season has literally shown his true colors and stuff. And, you know, you're seeing little fucking Amber M call him out. Like, I mean, come on. Yeah, I just think it was so classic. The way, I don't know if MTV just edited it that way perfectly or whatever, but it was a good job. And, you know, tonight my MVP goes to the entire cast except Fezzi. My LVP tonight, without a doubt, has to be WebEx or Zoom or whatever we want to call it.
Whoa.
What do we think they used tonight? WebEx? Definitely, right?
Had to be Zoom.
Zoom? Skype? Zoom?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll just say Zoom. Zoom/WebEx is my LVP tonight. And the reason for that is, I mean, what the fuck what the fuck happened tonight? Like, you're literally seeing Big T move like a fucking robot on the screen. Like, she is like glitching out of control. I mean, our fucking connection's better, and we're on fucking free Wi-Fi. You literally had 2 people on at a time on your Skype. You could have had everybody. I mean, what the hell are we doing? I mean, Alex Magic Jack over here could have had better fucking connection from Chicago. So that's my pick tonight. WebEx/Skype/Zoom/whatever. All right, Andy.
Good pick. I mean, my LVP is going to be Fezzi. It's such a softball, but like I have to take it. Like, he's just so annoying, and I really hate the guy. So there's a good chance that every time I see Fezzi on my screen from here on out, he's going to be my favorite to be LVP. So he was my LVP tonight, and I'm happy you left that for me, Trev.
I'm just looking out for everybody.
Yeah, LVP Fezzi is where I was definitely looking at. I think my backup LVP tonight. So I know Trev before has done MVP 60-minute episodes. My LVP is 90-minute episodes tonight. I think as a whole, the LVP is almost like the episode itself, but I think it's just the fact that we have 90 minutes on a reunion this week, 90 minutes next week. They used to do all this shit in 60 minutes. So literally a third of what this is going to be. And again, there's a few, I think, honorable mentions that we could go for LVP and MVP, but I'm just going 90-minute episodes, dragging this shit on as much as they possibly can. It's just brutal for all of us.
Yeah. Quick honorable mention that I have, which I probably would have gone if I chose one person. I think Devin had a really good reunion show tonight. So I think MVP-wise, Devin is a good one. My honorable mention for LVP's got to be Loved by You for just joining us now. We've been live for 37 minutes. I'm just playing. But I don't know. Who else would your honorable mentions be?
I was going to say honorable mention for MVP would be Corey. And I know, like, my reasoning would be similar to what he was kind of all season, and just that he really didn't do much. Like, nobody was really going for him, and he just kind of had, like, funny lines every now and then. None of the conversation was really about him. So that's why I would kind of do honorable mention for Corey.
Okay. Andy, anything before we wrap this up?
I would say, and someone in the chat said it, I can't remember exactly who, but I would say production, because this was just, I think it was probably Ryan McCord. It was just all about Fezzi, and like that was just dumb. Like, that was just stupid. I've had enough of him forever.
What was Jay doing there? That guy who beat CT last season.
I think that they just wanted to bring him on.
Mercenary?
Remind CT, like, you got to stay in your lane sometimes. Like, you lost.
I like that.
But yeah, with that being said, I know this was kind of a last minute thing, but thank you guys for joining us for a brand new Stir the Pod podcast show. It was actually a really fun time hearing from you guys, just kind of not really going on a format and kind of just listening to what you guys say. Obviously, it was a shorter one, 40 minutes. Alex, you got something to hop in there and say?
I was just going to add on and say I think tonight's podcast and the one last week, and we've seen some people on Twitter. I think it seems like towards the end of the season we have a lot of new listeners, just a lot of people in the chat that we haven't seen before. And again, just like Trev said, best way to keep in touch with us, follow us on Twitter @StirThePod.
Yes, absolutely. We will be back next week for a season recap. We will be recapping the entire season, not just the reunion. We'll probably skip past the reunion part 2, to be completely honest with you. So we'll recap the entire season. We got awards going out there. If you guys can think of any funny awards, please DM us. You can follow us on Twitter @StirThePod. We are open to kind of any award. We kind of have a base of, I don't even know, how many do we have right now? 8 to 12, kind of in that range right now?
Yeah, right in there, yeah.
Yeah, so
we'll tweet them out. So we'll tweet them out before we go live so that you guys can think about who you would give your picks to.
Yep. Finn, thanks for joining us for the first time. Hopefully it's not the last. So with that being said, thank you guys for listening to a brand new Stir the Pod podcast show. I've been your host, Trevor. Follow us on Twitter at Stir the Pod. Thank you guys. Love you guys. Shout out Duffy.